it's not about freelancing, or sometimes it starts out about freelancing and ends up being something much more broad, much more life oriented, which is what I absolutely, really, really, really love. And that one, if you can indulge me just for 1 second, is, you know me, it's not 1 second, but helping people in transition and me sort of migrating what I really love to do to that, not just about freelancing, but that as a part of a much bigger scope, happened to me in an aha moment a couple of years ago. So here I am living in Mexico, having my annual review conversation with my financial advisor. And he told me that statistically speaking, I would live to be 96 and that my money would last. And I said, well, that's really cool. And then I sat there for a moment and said, oh my God, 96? 96. And I'm sure he'd mentioned that before because it's part of all the statistical models that they use. But it was just in that moment, I had that aha, that's another third of my life. I spent the first third, growing up and going to school. And I spent the second third working in corporate America for the most part. And there's a whole nother third, and I remember sitting there in San Miguel looking out over the mountains going, what in the world am I going to do with it? It was exciting yet scary in the moment.
Yeah.
So I embarked on I'll call it a journey or a quest, whatever you want to call it, to figure that out, to create what it is I wanted the last third of my life to be. And I participated in a training program, and I now use that information to help my clients go through that same process. And it's a huge discovery process. It's so not how a typical retiree, at least not people I've met, not how they build, what's next for them. Most people don't even really look at what's next other than, golf clubs or something.
Exactly. And so what about then, you're kind of stepping into looking at people's vision for their future life. I think a lot of people, frankly, haven't given it a lot of thought, or their dreams have been stepped on for so long, they need to be dusted off and shaken up to awake again, or come up with something new, given the kind of new world we live in. How do you deal with people in creating a vision that's worthy of them living into?
Well, the first thing I do is have them identify what path they think they're on. Mm-hmm. Kind of like, what's your current reality, if you want to look at it that way. And, I find a lot of people, their reality when it comes to a transition out of, full-time work or whatever into retirement or whatever they want to call it, whatever's next for them, they don't know. They're like, oh, well, I guess I can sleep in now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, or the other thing I see is a path has been sort of laid upon them. Mm-hmm. Like when I went to college, it was like, you will get a degree and you will, like there were these expectations. And right. Oftentimes people's families mm-hmm. have their own expectations for them as they retire. Oh, well, you're going to come take care of the kids now, right, Mom?
Right.
Okay. So I get some of that sometimes too, and I also get people
overinflated, that frankly, it's a little bit too much too late as well. And they have to dial back their expectations. Does that happen?
Not very often. Quite honestly, more often when I say it, plus I have to be kind of cautious about languaging. Like if I ask people what the vision for their life is, they're like, what are you talking about? So I tend to use the word goals more often and then just lead them through a series of questions. But I don't often find people that have kind of got, I don't want to say like gone off the deep end, but have way too huge, I find more people don't see their potential.
Right.
They've never, and not because they couldn't, they just never have. I talk about there's things you know, and there's things that you know that you don't know. Like I know that I know how to fly an airplane. And I know that I know how to fly my airplane. And I know that I don't know how to fly a drone. I have no idea how to fly a drone, but I know that I don't know how to fly a drone.
Right.
And then there's this whole world of what you don't know that you don't know.
Exactly.
And that's what I lead them into.
Mm-hmm.
By asking questions. Yeah. About health. What do you want for your health and fitness? Like my vision for health and fitness in the short version now is I don't ever have to go to a hospital or a doctor.
All right.
And part of that process is taking them through not just what is it, but why. Because if people don't have a strong enough why behind the what, they're probably not going to do it. They're just not going to do it.
So it's kind of like we're sadly getting towards the end of our time together here, but it sounds like you offer people a kind of a life tune-up as well. So even if in the end their goals are clearer, and they're at least, like you said, what's next? They are on the stepping stones to what's next towards maybe a future they don't know about yet. But as they step further, they step into it, or at least the pathway opens up.
Yeah. And there's 12 elements to this thing. So I don't always throw all 12 at everybody at once because they can't, it's too much, especially if they've never been down this path. So I'll have them identify a goal and why, and then a time frame. So these are kind of the key elements I have them look at. And then, what actions do you think it would take to get there? And then I help them see that from a different perspective, standing in accomplishment rather than in, oh my God, I have to do all that. Just a different way to look at things.
Exactly. And that's key. And, that comes back even to identity, to see yourself as an accomplished, achieved person and so on. So Claudia, how do people get a hold of you if they want you to help them through this discovery process?
The easiest way right now is through my email, which I will attempt to spell out here. It's not long, but on radio it could sound a little strange. So I'm going to use aviation language to do this a little bit. So first I'll just say it. It's CJH.FLCoach@gmail.com. So that's C as in Charlie, J as in Juliet, H as in hotel, dot, F as in Foxtrot, L as in Lima, C as in Charlie, O as in Oscar, A as in Alpha, C as in Charlie, H as in hotel. That was really long. Sorry about that. At gmail.com.
And frankly, it's your name. It's Claudia J. Holcomb .FL for freelance, I suppose. Coach.
It's my initials. CJH at FLCoach.com. Yeah, super. That's the best way.
Wonderful. So, thank you for being such an example of, living legacy leadership and living an extraordinary life. And from my own experience with you and you coaching me, I know how well you write and how you incisively take disparate information and weave it into brilliance, really. So thank you, Claudia, for being with us here on the radio show today. And remember, it's Claudia Holcomb at cjh.flcoach@gmail.com. And I think we need to wrap it up there. So Claudia, thanks for coming. Muchas gracias para todos.
De nada. Very good. Thank you so much, Donna.
My pleasure. And I want to thank our listeners as well for being with us on the SOB Radio Network. Do check out the archives there on the network under Living Legacy Leadership. And also you can check out GameChangerThinking.com to find out what else is going on in my world too. So thank you all very much. And do remember that the life you live is the legacy you leave. Bye-bye now.